You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. All right, folks, so we always talk about voter suppression here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, and guess what? We have another case of that. This is what is actually happening in Georgia. Officials in Jonesboro, Georgia, are trying to move the city's sole polling site from a museum to the Jonesboro Police Department. The Lawyers Center for Civil Rights Under Law believes that this is a clear example of voter suppression, and they, along with their partners, are planning to resist these efforts. Derek, this is the thing that we have seen in other places as well, where they are moving a voting site from a recreation center, from a church, in this case a museum, to a police station. And many folks believe that's a chilling effect. Clearly are trying, because people who are, and look, this has happened in many other places.
Right, I ain't going to there.
And you're like, seriously?
Right. And so, I mean, I have no argument other than it is a way to suppress the vote. And they did the same thing happened in Georgia last year when they tried to shut down several voting places in a little town. They went from like 7 down to 2.
And put it, or one county, they want to put it outside of the city limits.
Sure, yeah.
This is definitely...
And any black person who's had any kind of trouble with the law, you're going to avoid going into a police station.
Right.
So what is the purpose?
But this is the thing. Like every time I have, not all of them, but every time I have black Republicans on the show, they're like, no, like folks like Melick, who might say, no, I don't think it's voter suppression. I'm sorry. When you cannot explain to me the logic of saying, let's move a voting location from a museum to a police station. This happened in Texas as well. I've seen it before.
It's voter intimidation, Roland. It's not suppression. It's outright intimidation.
It's both. Because you want to intimidate them so they don't vote to suppress the vote.
Okay, it's both. But literally, you're sending a signal. Some folks, I remember years ago, and I won't mention the town, I was traveling for Hillary, actually, and I ran into someone I knew, and I said, bro, did your early vote? He said, oh, no. This particular county had gone from 8 polling places to 3, and one was at the police station. He's like, nah, man, I got child support, I got parking tickets.
And so I can't argue that, Roland. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep it real. You know,
so he's like, no, I'm not going there. He said, if I can, I'll vote at the regular time in a regular place. But,
I wouldn't go.
You know, he was refusing. And this is what they've done. I mean, just the bag of tricks is a bag of tricks that says y'all don't vote. I mean, they also, flyers in people's homes, Latino people who are citizens and have the right to vote, afraid to vote because of things that have been circulated in Espanol to basically intimidate them. So, the Lawyers Committee, the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund, they have their hands full. But here again, there's more work for them to do.
Well, Mustafa, that was a report showed that in the last 10 years, we have thousands upon thousands of fewer voting locations. Again, voter suppression. You would think folks would be saying, no, let's expand it. Right. Let's have more folks voting. No, there's been a deliberate effort to shrink the number of voting locations in order to make it more difficult for folks to vote. Go ahead then, Derek.
Because our vote is so powerful, they're doing everything that they can to minimize how many people vote, to try and take power out of our vote, all these various things. And my niece, who is now 8, she has a word called strategery that she likes to use all the time. This is psychological strategery in her words, where you manipulate people by making sure that they don't go into certain places because of past relationships, because of past impacts. Nothing good has ever happened when a person of color walks into a police station. So she would say that this is psychological strategery. So if somebody who's 8 years old gets it, then everybody else should get it.
But I would say, conversely, though, where you look at Maryland, where they just passed legislation where it's going to allow people to register and vote on the same day. So it looks like you are expanding it in that regard.
No. No. Maryland's a blue state. Democrats, Republicans have been fighting that. In fact,
but it passed.
No. Let me walk you through. In the state of Maine. In the state of Maine. They've had I got it. What I'm saying is they had same-day voter registration in Maine. the Republican legislature goes, oh, we don't need that.
Yep.
Got rid of it. Voters said, we didn't ask y'all to do that. Came back 2 years later, put it on the ballot, and it passed by more than 65%. We see other examples where Republicans have fought same-day voter registration. Trump has spoken against that, saying, oh, no, that's fraud, fraud, fraud. And so in these places where folks have been saying, no, we should be expanding the opportunities. Like, for instance, it makes no sense that you're not automatically registered when you turn 18. It is illogical. Then you had Republicans in Ohio who went a step further. This case went to the Supreme Court, and the voter lost. A white guy sued them. Their deal was, you haven't voted in the last 2 elections, so therefore we're going to purge you from the rolls. The guy was like, wait a minute, hold up. Just because I didn't vote in the last 2 elections, well, we sent notices to you, which, first of all, it looked like a damn bill, so people ignored them. So what happened was, guy sued, goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, no, y'all can do that. So now what has happened? States all across the country are now purging voter rolls. So you got people who are registered to vote who go, wait a minute, I didn't even, just got didn't vote, now you're purging me? That's how convoluted the system is. And the problem that you have is, I'll give another example. In Wisconsin, how they are gerrymandering districts. They got into a room, and the Republican consultants used an algorithm that was devised for something else. It was a Nobel Prize winning guy, mathematician. And they gerrymandered the districts, called each Republican in, they had to sign a statement swearing they would not reveal any of this information, and they showed how they can parse these districts. And so that's why in Wisconsin, Democrats could win 55% of all votes and then still lose the seats when there. So the tricks that are being played with the voting is actually being led in this country by the Republican Party.
I disagree, because I've seen the gerrymandering happen straight in Maryland. I had census contracts.
Hold on, that was one congressional seat.
There was several congressional seats.
No, what you're speaking of was a lawsuit. We've covered it. That was one. I'm talking about
Maryland
whole states.
during the census.
Oh, no.
I had that contract.
Right, that was one congressional district.
It was a couple of different congressional districts, Roland.
I'm talking about.
I had the contract.
What I'm trying to walk you through is, okay, Maryland. Show me where else Democrats have done that.
I think it's happened. I can't point to another state.
Okay, here's what I can point you to about Republicans: Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
So gerrymandering,
Tennessee.
So gerrymandering only takes place in one state by Republicans.
No. What I'm saying to you, Republican Party, by design, the
Democrats only did it in one state.
No. What I'm walking through out of the two parties, which party is consistently fully embracing voter suppression, voter intimidation, and hardcore political gerrymandering. In fact,
I'm agreeing with you on the voter suppression part about the police thing, but some of the other arguments about voter suppression, I can't get with you on.
Let me jump
Well, there's a guy named Mike Hoffler. He's dead. He's got Tom Hoffler. He's dead. And the only reason we know this, praise the Lord, him and his daughter did not get along. But when he died, she went to his home and discovered, she was looking for something else, and then discovered his computer. And what we now know from his secret files, this guy was the master Republican gerrymandering. He had, and when they got sued, even with the census deal, they claimed, oh, no, it's not about race. In his hard drive, it was all about race. We only know this because she got the hard drive. Republicans are suing to keep this guy's notes private. They're trying to claim attorney-client privilege when this was the guy who was hired by multiple Republicans in states all across the country to come in, to gerrymander the districts, and to also do voter suppression. This guy literally, he was dying, and he said, I'm going to work up until my death to frustrate them when it comes to political gerrymandering. His name was Tom Hoffler. Folks, go to the New Yorker, and you can read this story. Matter of fact, go to my iPad, folks. This is the headline, September 6, 2019. The secret files of the master of modern Republican gerrymandering. Democrats have gerrymandered, but Republicans have taken this thing to a whole different level, and not in one state or two, nationwide. Julianne, I'll go to my next story.
You have to look at the economic piece of this in terms of reducing the number of polling places. Some people do not have transportation, do not have automobiles. The other thing is the class bias, which is intersected with race, in terms of who gets to take Tuesday off. I mean, some people they're on an hourly, they don't get to take Tuesday off. Those of us who are professional, whatever, we can take whatever off we want to. So there is an economic anti-working class bias to the way that they're closing these polling places, and we have to pay attention to that too. All the things about voter suppression, but the closing of polling places in one county, Mississippi, people have to drive almost 40 miles.
Yeah, go to my iPad, please. This is a story from Reuters.
Went out in Georgia last
Southern U.S. states have closed 1,200 polling places in recent years. This was a report that was released by the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights that laid out, and if y'all want to, go to the website democracydiverted.org, democracydiverted.org, which lays out exactly what they did. And then they started, of course, and then we talk about, again, the games being played. Remember, in 2012, in Ohio, in Republican-led districts, Republican-led counties, they increased voting hours. Democratic counties, they decreased it. The Obama campaign sued Ohio, and Secretary of State had to admit, yeah, that was kind of unfair, Republican Secretary of State, but he had to get sued. They lost in court because they were sitting here playing games with the voting hours. All I'm simply saying is, if we say that voting is supposedly democratic, fine, stop blocking it. Stop shutting down polling locations. Stop moving them to police departments. Unfortunately, the Republican Party is real good at that because, to your point, they are absolutely, and they ain't just targeting black people. I keep telling all these white folks out here, especially these young white kids. In Wisconsin, 2012, a county clerk said she moved an early voting location off of a college campus because too many students were voting Democratic. She moved it to a far place in the corner, far place in the county. They had a small parking lot because she wanted to make it hard for folks to vote. Hell, she was on record. That, to me, is a fundamental problem. And so,
Strategery.
we know what's going on here. All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, you've heard me talk a lot about marijuanastock.org. Why? Because I want to keep you informed of investment opportunities that make sense. We've all watched the growth of the cannabis industry, now at more than $340 billion worldwide. And of course, we're seeing an increasing number of states in the U.S. actually make marijuana illegal. Of course, the cousin of the marijuana is the hemp plant with a much higher concentration of CBD, which means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the U.S., but the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that, now making it legal. What does that mean? That means folks need land. And this is a credible investment opportunity. That's why 420 Real Estate is moving forward. Their business model is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords. You can get in on the action. What they've done for the viewers of Roland Martin Unfiltered, they allow you to make a minimal investment of $200. Initially it was $500, now it's $200 in this crowdfunding campaign. That you can give from $200 up to $10,000. Again, this is a $340 billion industry that is still growing. You can participate with as little as $200. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org, marijuanastock.org. And that's, again, marijuanastock.org to get the game and get in the game now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.